thank you for joining us. Last night, the Orioles announced a 4-year deal with right-handed pitcher Darren O'Day. On stage, we are joined by Orioles Executive Vice President of Baseball Operations Dan Duquette, manager Buck Showalter, and Darren O'Day. Also joining us and seated in the front row are Darren's wife, Elizabeth, and his daughter, Claire. Thank you for being here. We will begin with an opening statement from Dan Duquette, followed by a statement from Darren O'Day, and then we'll take your questions.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. So the club is happy to re-sign Darren O'Day. Since Darren joined the Orioles in the fall, I think it was November 2011, he's put up 4 years almost as good as any other pitcher, any other relief pitcher in Major League Baseball. And when you look in the book for consistency for relief pitchers, you don't find very many relief pitchers who can put up the numbers that Darren has been able to put up in Baltimore over a 4-year period. And we're so happy that Darren is returning. And the other big thing about Darren on the ball club is that he provides leadership within the team and within the bullpen, within the structure of the bullpen. You cannot put up those kind of numbers without a terrific routine and a consistent routine, which is a terrific addition to the organization to have that kind of leadership and mentorship for younger players that come to the team. And Darren has done that unselfishly, and I'm so happy that he chose to re-sign with the Orioles. He's been a real staple in our bullpen, and we're looking forward to his leadership in the coming seasons. So I want to congratulate Darren and ask him to put on his old uniform.
I bet it fits. What do you think?
There we go.
I hope it fits.
It
I've been
fits-
working hard.
Fits if we can get
Haven't
the,
eaten too much.
there you go, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice going.
Thank you, thank you. Go with the orange. Well, thank you, Dan, and thank you for coming. Wasn't totally prepared with the opening statement, but I just want to express, first of all, gratitude to these guys sitting next to me for believing in me, bringing me back. Gratitude to everybody that I've worked with over the past 4 years here, and especially the Angelos family, and to the fans of Baltimore. Just they've welcomed myself and my wife over the last 4 years, and it was an easy choice to come back with how this team presented itself. So glad to be here.
Thanks, Darren. I think we're ready to take your questions. Please remember to state your name and affiliation before asking a question. Stan?
Stan Charles from the press box. Darren, if you look back to the end of the regular season, how big a surprise is it today to still be a Baltimore Oriole?
Well, I think in my heart of hearts, I hope that would come true. Like I said, I've had such a wonderful 4 years here. The work we've done over the past 4 years, kind of bringing this proud franchise back to where it should be with a lot of wins, really means a lot to me. And to be able to continue that for 4 more years means a lot to me. And I always hoped it would be a possibility. There was a time there we talked right at the beginning of the off-season, didn't talk much for a while, and then at the end, you know, they made it obvious that they wanted me back, and I wanted to come back.
No.
Darren, was there ever a time in the negotiation or after the season that you thought you wouldn't be back in Baltimore?
Yeah, there's always a chance of that. You know, they got a lot of smart guys up here running teams, and they run teams how they see fit. And you know, 4 years ago, Buck's only move as a GM, he claimed me for free. So that price escalated pretty quickly in 4 years. So if they thought there was other value elsewhere, so with somebody else, that's within their rights to do. So yeah, there was always a chance that I wouldn't be an Oriole. And like I said before, I'm overwhelmed with gratitude to be back, and happy to be back, especially to rejoin my teammates. That would probably be the one thing I'd miss the most is is playing with those guys every day because I know I enjoy coming to work and living on top of each other for 6 months, 8 months, a year with these guys. So that would be hard to leave.
Rich?
How important was the certainty in how you were going to be used here?
Yeah, it's this guy knows a little something about a baseball, and especially managing a bullpen, managing everybody on the team, really. If you're referring to being the opportunity to close games, I don't need that to feel validated. I think sometimes these situations that I get put into in the 8th inning or the 7th inning can determine a game more so than the 9th inning with empty bases. So I take a lot of pride in doing what I do and in pitching in those big situations. And I know Buck's going to take care of me physically. And our medical staff here is top notch. So I hope that I can continue playing after this contract, and that certainly was a big factor.
Dan?
Darren, when is now this reality set in that you're going to be here through 2019, and now the cheerleading, lobbying process begins for both, to Dan trying to get some guys, but also talking to potential free agents. And there's one particular potential free agent, obviously, you have a real connection to as well.
Yeah. It's a powerful thing when you have players reach out to guys that could possibly join the team, and I look forward to doing that. Number 19 he's actually he's a mustache enthusiast. So I'm hoping that maybe he'll see a picture of this and think that he couldn't stand not seeing it for a while. So, maybe he sees it and thinks that's where I want to play. Chris is a good friend of mine, and every free agency situation is different, and he's got to do what's right for his family. That being said, I'm going to do everything I can to get him to come back because I think he's a difference maker, and he's got a rare skill set that you don't see everywhere. So he makes our team better. He's a great teammate, a good friend, and I've been talking to him a little bit, just kind of relating my experience to his. There's a couple differences in that, notably zeros. So, but we've been friends talking about it and going through it and bouncing ideas off each other.
Andrew Simon with MLB.com. Just wondering what getting a deal like this, a 4-year deal, means for you, considering the path that you've had to take in your career.
Yeah, it's been an interesting path from a guy that was lightly recruited out of high school to being. I tried to walk onto a college team, throwing overhand, got cut. Walked on next year, throwing sidearm, made it, and then didn't think I'd get a chance to play professionally. And been designated, changed teams 4 times without being traded. It's been an interesting ride, really has. And baseball is about being ready for opportunities and taking advantage of them when they're presented. And I've been lucky enough to do that. I've been lucky enough to have some great help along the way, some great managers and coaches, and especially older players, veterans that I reached out to when I did sign this contract to say thanks, because I wouldn't have made it this far without them, and I hope to do that for some of our younger guys. And maybe when I'm an old guy sitting on a golf cart somewhere, I get a text from one of them saying, "Hey, I signed a good contract." So that's kind of the full circle of the major league career, and I hope to continue that here.
Brock?
Dan, do you feel like you're getting close to any other moves this week or soon after?
Before we go on to that, I did want to commend Brady Anderson, who did the lion's share of the negotiating with Jeff Boris, Darren's agent, and Trip Norton, who handled the administrative details of the contract for the club. Those guys did a nice job helping get Darren back in the fold with the Orioles. And as far as our immediate business, the club is still looking for left-handed hitting to balance our lineup, and we're looking to strengthen our pitching staff and add depth to the organization. So that quest, continues.
There's one thing I didn't mention that I wanted to. when we were negotiating with Brady, talking, and Dan, we were talking about kind of the idea of legacy, and that if I came back and was able to put 4 more years up that I have the past 4, I could sneak up on Palmer's games appeared record for the Orioles, which, if you think about it as a starter, that's just crazy. And that it means a lot in this day of free agency. Guys change teams so much. For me to be able to be on one team for that long would be really something special to me. And to be able to creep up such a historic franchise's leaderboards would mean even more.
Stan?
Dan, I have a question for you. The length of contract in dollars are very similar to somebody that you let walk last year, Andrew Miller. Is it a change in philosophy, or were you more comfortable that Darren could play out the length of that contract?
Well, this is a second multi-year contract that Darren signed with the team, and he had been with us for 4 complete seasons. He signed a multi-year contract during his arbitration eligibility, and then he signed this contract to extend his time with the club. And he has shown that he's very dependable. He's physically dependable, and he is he's there when you need him. I mean, he goes out and gets the key outs in the game. And, you know, we had much more time with Darren, and we're a lot more comfortable with the job that he does, and his unorthodox delivery, if you will, we think, you know, merited the extra year on the contract, which, by the way, was required in the market.
Dan?
Darren said that he'd be willing to, to talk to players. He's looking forward to kind of doing that. How much do you expect to utilize that? I know Adam Jones has expressed the same interest as well. How important is that, do you think, in recruiting, and how much do you expect to utilize that?
The good news about the Orioles is that the Orioles have a winning culture. They have a winning culture in the locker room under Buck's leadership, and that culture is well known by the players within the ball club. And players that want to be in a winning culture where you're supported by the organization, you're supported by your teammates, you're mentored by the manager and the coaching staff, that's a desirable place to go to work if you're a ball player. So if the players make known how happy they are within the culture, they generally play better, and it helps recruiting. But you know, I don't know how much it helps, but I'm sure it helps. But the Orioles are fortunate to have built that culture under Buck's leadership.
Same kind of question for Buck as well. I mean, how important is it
I was
to
kind of
have-
liking the way this was going. You know, Claire's up here trying to sell her dad. I mean, he's already got the contract. I was trying to tell her. I'm sorry, Dan, what?
How important is it to have somebody like Darren, and I know you have Adam as well, who's here at 2019, that you can be able to kind of talk to other players about, that you got, those kind
Well,
of leaders?
you know, one of the things that Darren understands, his first commitment is pitching and getting people out, and that's really the number one job description, and, you know, a lot of that feeds off of that. You know, he's not a guy that goes around and thumps his own chest. A lot of people, you know, he understands the weight his words carry and doesn't use them callously like a lot of people do, and I think there's a certain respect there that he gets from that. And the one thing I think it's important for me is that he not do anything differently. I don't want him to start having to do anything. You know, just what he is what we want. And sometimes, sometimes guys feel like when they get that type of commitment that they have to do more and more and more, and that's not the case here. It's one of the things that Darren and I will talk about. I don't want him to. Now, if he wants to, I think he's respectful of players and teammates that have things going on in their lives that, everybody has to make decisions sooner or later because their work is coveted other places. And, I don't want him to feel like that's part of the job description. That's something that guys do. And the most important thing is getting ready to pitch next year and beyond. And, it's like Dan said, it came down to, guys that you really trust. And it doesn't mean that you get everybody out that you face. It just means that, his teammates and the fans and coaching staff know what they're going to get every day, and knowing that some days it's not perfect.
He asked my question.
Dan, has anything changed since you spoke to us Saturday vis-à-vis negotiations with Chris?
No.
Buck, can I ask you one real quick question? And I apologize if all the other writers know this. Could you talk a little bit about the one day you were general manager and ended up picking up Darren?
Well, that's why I retired. I can't top that one. No, it was just between Dan and Andy. It was like 2 days, and I think Ned came down the hall, Rice, with the waiver wire, and it's tough. Made a few phone calls. I'd known Darren from afar, and we'd already done some homework on him. It wasn't that hard. Lucky because nobody goes into expecting that. But fortunate for both of us. I'd like to think, but that's a good one to retire on. One and done.
Any additional questions? Okay, I think that will conclude today's press conference.
originally Mets or
No, I'm sorry, Mel.
Angels?
Dan, did you make an offer to Kim from contract? I don't know if we asked you about that or not.
We're still looking for left-handed hitting, and we're going to continue to work on that this week.
Now I think we can conclude today's press
Signed with the
conference. Thank
Mets
you for
originally.
coming. Congratulations, Darren, and welcome back.
Thank you.
Done.